Are we all ready to go? Ready? Okay. Does anybody want to do the invocation?
Sure.
Sure? Okay.
Sure.
I did the other one. Good evening. I'd like to call the October 8th meeting of the Northfield Township Board to order. Please stand for the invocation and pledge.
As humbled guests of your creation, dear God, may we with gratitude ask for thy wisdom, love, and guidance, not only to this meeting this evening, but to our daily lives. Amen.
Please call the roll, Clerk Manley.
Bellinger.
Here.
Dockett. Here. Zelenak. Chick. Here. Manley. Here. Chalkley.
Here.
Otto is here, just gone at the moment.
Okay. So we have 6, and that's a quorum. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the balance of the agenda. Do I have a second?
I'll support.
Motion by Chalkley, support by Manley. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Oh, wait. I would like
Would you
to
like
have
to-
something pulled.
From what?
I want to pull a few things.
From the consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay, well, when we get there, you can ask all your questions, and we'll take care of it right then. Okay? That's next.
Go.
Okay, so all in favor of adopting the agenda, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you, that passes 7-0. Now we have an opportunity for call to the public, and this is our regular meeting, so feel free to come up to the microphone if you'd like to say anything to us. Turn it on, state your name, your address, hold the microphone up to your mouth so the people on the television can hear you. And 3 minutes, thank you. Welcome. Oh,
Mary Devlin, 9211 Brookside Drive. It is apparent that the marijuana issue takes precedence over everything else since it's on the agenda tonight again after 11 months. The marijuana business supporters intentionally omit the dangers of smoking it and also the vaping as well. You have pre-application info in your packet tonight regarding marijuana businesses. I think you are being overconfident prior to the November 5th election. Once again, as I have mentioned before, you could have and should have opted out, but you chose not to. Also, I have a question for the board members pushing this issue. Is one of the reasons political? And the other thing that I wanted to mention is the fact, and this is specifically to the people that have been or are considering stealing the Vote Yes to Ban Pot Shops signs. It is a misdemeanor theft and a possibility of a $500 fine for each and every sign and 90 days in jail. Remember to vote yes to ban pot shops on November 5th. Thank you.
thank you. So, anyone else?
Hello, my name is Mary Check. I live at 9615 Main Street. Albert Einstein said, "The measure of intelligence is the ability to change." I believe the people of Northfield Township are extremely intelligent. I believe members of this board are intelligent. It is my hope that we will demonstrate our intelligence on November 5th and embrace our ability to change and support new business in Northfield Township and vote no on Proposal 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay. Please come forward.
John Gura, 7659 Edmonds. Here we are again. People didn't know what they were voting for, is what some of you have said. And you know what? I'll concede that point. Marijuana is now legal in our township, and the township voted above the state average to legalize it. But for some reason, the board seemed fit to push back and ignore the will of the people. Never mind that you've all admitted that, ban or not, people can grow, trade, and partake in it here. There's a concern about the industry moving in and giving our town a bad name. Some of the signs read, "Not in my backyard," or "Save Northfield." Really? Save it from what? These start to sound like personal biases and moral arguments rather than fact-based decisions made by leaders. 3 of you that sit in front of us today have been active members in trying to institute a ban on the grounds of moral superiority. You should be careful, though. Morality doesn't exist in a bubble. It's not uncommon for individuals to show up at church every Sunday, but return home and abuse their spouse or cheat on them. Should those people really be our moral compass? In fact, one person on this board not too long ago thought the best way to sell some mediocre, at best, rock and roll cover songs was by slapping some soft porn on the cover of the album. Some of you may find it inappropriate that I'm wearing a t-shirt with Trustee Bellinger's naked body on it today. But you should ask yourselves why. I didn't Photoshop this image to make her look bad. This was something that Trustee Ton produced and is proud of. I know this because her billboard is outside right now that she drives up and down our road every day with her alter ego, Lemon James, painted all over it. In a quick Google search, it takes you right to this image that shows more of her than most people care to see. This isn't a mistake from her past. This is available today with this cover art for $4.11 on Amazon Music. I'm not going to be lectured about morality by a flesh peddler with delusions of grandeur. Your duty is to represent the people in the township fairly and honestly, and what you do is best for us as a collective. Now you have a legal industry wanting to grow our township, offer jobs, bring in work, and help locals with a natural plan. But you sit here with a pious attitude like you're going to somehow save us from some unknown menace. You're doing God's bidding. How pure can your intentions be when you admit that banning the business won't change the use of the product? It just makes it more difficult for thousands of adults who don't agree with you to procure it. It sounds vindictive and cruel, especially to those who use it to ease pain or anxiety. Where's your compassion for the people you represent who want to use a natural remedy rather than turn to expensive and addictive opioids? In closing, I'll repeat, the people didn't know what they were voting for may be the most true statement claimed by part of this body, but not in relation to laws. I think the people didn't know what they were voting for when they checked the box next to some of your names.
Thank you. Okay, do we have anyone else who'd like to come up?
Barbara Wutka, 5985 Leland Drive. I have learned a lot about marijuana in the last 6 months, beyond what I already knew. And what I've learned recently makes me wonder what the heck we are even doing in this township, and what the actual motivations are for bringing that business into our community. One thing I've learned, beyond everything else, is that once the banking industry can legally handle marijuana transactions, Amazon is going to be all over it. And we all know what happens to brick and mortar once that happens. And seeing as how Whitmore Lake residents have never managed to support the previous businesses that they've had here, what makes you think marijuana shops will be successful? It's a very limited market. The second thing is something I saw recently on TV. There was a man in Colombia being interviewed by one person from the United States and another one from Great Britain. This man in Colombia has a huge marijuana grow operation. He was asked who he sells to. He said Canada and any other company or country he can legally sell to. So once marijuana becomes legal in the US, which it more than likely will, then the marijuana will most likely be purchased from outside the country where it is cheaper. There goes the grow operations that we want here. So what exactly are we doing here? Not saving the township. I don't think that'll happen. I think once the big business that comes in here and wants to use our township is done with us, they'll leave. And we'll be right back where we started from. Everybody, and I'm not talking just about you people, but all the boards have been very short-sighted in how to improve the township, and I don't think this is the way to do it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Stan Wutka, 5985 Leland Drive. And what I want to talk about today is cancer and marijuana. I have my own personal story about that. In my family, there were 5 women, or 5 girls, and 2 boys. My brother was the youngest. He's roughly was 7 years younger than me. He messed with the wrong crowd in high school, ended up dropping out of high school, and he had a marijuana problem, okay? So, and he was a good kid, but he still had the problem. He got busted a couple times with it, was on his record, had trouble finding a job. And I talked to him about it a couple times, but he thought he had it under control, which is okay, he had it under control. And one time we had to go to Rochester, New York to help my sister move from there to Connecticut. Her husband got transferred real quick, and so she needed our help. And so I drove there myself, and then him and his buddy drove over there from here. And so anyways, they were going to drive my car back. So I said to him, I said, Jimmy, hope you don't have anything funny that you're going to get busted and get my car impounded in Canada. And he said, no. He said, I stopped it 3 months ago. I'm never going to use it in my life again. Well, roughly about 4 years later, and he was only 30 at the time, he developed testicle cancer. And they thought they were going to be able to cure it, and they didn't. And near the end, he started having a lot of pain. And back then, the medical profession felt that if they gave you too much of any type of narcotic or drug, that you could be addicted, even though you got less than a month to live. Well, today you have hospice care, where you won't suffer as much under hospice care. He did not have that. And what happened at one Sunday night, about 3 weeks before he died, my mother called crying because my brother was in pain, and he had no pain relief with him. She wanted to know if I had any extra of my back pills, because back then I had back problems. So I did. I ran him over to his house in Detroit, gave it to him, then I suggested, why don't you call your one friend that I knew was dealing marijuana, and that's where he got it from. And he said, Stan, marijuana didn't help me at any time in my life, and it's not going to help me now. So anyways, that's my story with marijuana and cancer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dana Forrester, excuse me, 9255 Lakewood Drive, and Lovely Monkey Tattoo on Main Street. Just to kind of comment on the previous 2 speakers, so I have a lot of family and friends who have cancer, and my 81-year-old mother's been battling cancer for 4 years, and they can't have marijuana in Atlanta. So when I go and drive and visit her, I bring it to her, and it helps her pain. And we thought she'd only be alive a year. She's into her 4th year battling cancer, as is a 32-year-old friend of ours, Sam, who's a nurse at Henry Ford. She has breast cancer, advanced stage. It's very aggressive, and she's been doing Rick Simpson oil, if any of you know of that, made of marijuana, and she's outlasted all predictions, and we were at her wedding in Nashville recently. So I really kind of resent when people talk about a particular segment of society. Even my 83-year-old dad, who's a retired doctor, advocates the use of marijuana for pain. And again, my mother is a retired lawyer, so pretty smart people who are, and I want to say, like 10, 20 years ago, they were not supportive of this, but now they are. And I wanted to add a couple things. One, Northfield Township Green Growth, the group that is opposing the ballot, no one that we know in our group is stealing the signs. There's almost 100 of us. We have talked to them. So, there's a lot of people that feel both ways. I just noticed the sign on vans was gone for our side, so, we can't control that, but we are aware of the ramifications, and our group is not doing it as far as we know. Lastly, I just wanted to say, again, I'm just overwhelmed by the support of downtown Main Street businesses who want marijuana businesses. It is, as you know, it is very difficult to be a business here. Lovely Monkey primarily gets our clients. We do breast cancer tattoos as our main thing for women who have survived breast cancer. We put on realistic nipple and areolas, and we have 90 plastic surgeons referring us around the Midwest. And so we get people from all over the state. We need traffic. We need foot traffic. So let me do a quick list. I just added Stay Gold Beauty Salon, supports Canna Business, of course us, Max Marina, Dee's Ice Cream, Rick's Bait Shop, Little Porky's, Driftwood Marina, members of Polly's, employees of Domino's, Whitmore Lanes and Coney Island, Bobber Down, Grow Green, Dockett's, Mary Check, owner of that whole Nice Corner Family Video, and employees of Marco's and employees of Peaberry. So it's pretty overwhelming. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, come on up.
Is this on? My name's Craig Warburton. I live at 450 West Joy Road. I have two issues that I wish to raise. They're sort of related. This will be the fourth time I've stood in front of you and talked to you about August 12th. The great quote from Mr. Dockett was the evening of dirty politics. It was an evening when, in a special meeting at the very 11th hour, the ballot had to be prepared and certified to go to the county to make the November ballot. A great amount of conversation took place. Not a lot of definition took place. Three of you, as has been mentioned, the supervisor, the clerk, and one trustee, participated in rounding up those signatures and participated with that group, and that's just fine. But when you elected to sit in the very chairs you're in today and vote on whether that business, when it came in front of the board, should move forward or not, you were crossing a line. You crossed a conflict of interest line that can't be undone. Your impartiality, as far as I'm concerned, is out the window. I have no reasonable expectation that you're going to do anything in the ensuing meetings but try and micromanage these two ordinances about marijuana to the point of frustration and exhaustion. I don't think there are many members of the Planning Commission that are pro-pot, and they worked diligently to put together bipartisan, for lacking a better term, ordinances that are quite sensible. I would make them a little more liberal, but then again, I'm not there. So I wrote a very long letter that never got read, never became part of the correspondence, never became part of the record, never got responded to by the township manager, never got responded to by the township attorney, accusing you all of malfeasance. And again, I'm back again today. You should be recusing yourself from all these conversations about the marijuana ordinance. But I do want to make one comment, and that is there's one group that's going to go unsung, and they're going to be ecstatic if you win. And it's going to be the black market dealers, the ones that are selling pot to your kids. Because they're going to run wild at this point. All competition is out the window. You will have turned away regulated, tested, safe marijuana. You three should be smoking it more than anybody else in the room. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Anyone else at this time? Okay, moving on. Go ahead.
James Trunco, 9255 Lakewood Drive. I don't know, there's not too much more I can say that hasn't already been said about the folks who just came ahead of me that were for the Canna Business in Northfield Township. Some things I just don't understand, the irrational fears. As Craig said, if we reject it, the black market sellers are going to sell to the kids. That was a major concern, the children. A way to avoid that happening is to, bring in licensed, regulated, heavily surveilled by cameras dispensaries. I just don't understand the irrational fears behind this anti-movement. Every part of the anti-movement can be refuted by actual, real scientific explanations and facts. So there's no basis behind this irrational fear of the anti-movement. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Okay, up. Come on up.
My name is Dylan Atkinson, 17 Anna Drive. I just wanted to say a couple things, one of which is it's apparent that you guys don't really understand whether it's the laws that Michigan has already put in effect or the industry period. I mean, you guys were having a debate on how many plants could go in a certain area. You guys stopped Class C licenses from going on agricultural plots of land. Well, I mean, in theory, I could grow 2,000 plants in this room right now if I had a specific business model, and that would be all clones. That's smellless, no bud, nobody's ever gonna get high from it. Nobody, no kids would ever get their hands on it. And again, that would be in like this room. I could do that in 20 feet, 8 by 20 feet. So you guys should do a little bit more research on the actual industry, what people are doing. Sorry, I ran all the way over here. And just know more about the laws that Michigan's already been doing. Because it's pretty obvious that you guys aren't too aware of what's already been going on, and that's a big issue. Another thing I'd like to say is, it's pretty apparent that in the last meeting, one of the board members said that it's very possible that some of you guys may have your own personal interests on either being for or against it, and I think that the specific members are Miss Bellinger, who is also a known alias of Lemon James. I don't know if this has been brought up because I just got here, but there's been a lot of debate going on social media with this James the Lemon, and personally I think it's some kind of weird fishy thing that we have an elected official going by Lemon James, and then this other person who clearly has their own interests against weed is also going as Lemon the James. So I think instead of having just the public bring their opinions to you, we finally need you guys to start answering some questions for us. And with that being said, I think if you guys don't want dispensaries or actual places for children or anyone else to get weed, then I think that should be on a separate prop, like a totally different vote, because if you banned all the industries here, you're banning growers that could grow in their backyard and go somewhere else, to Detroit, to Ann Arbor, to Grand Rapids, to get rid of their crops. It would never even be here.
10
you guys
seconds,
would never even
Mr.
know.
Atkinson.
So, just something to think about.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Okay, seeing no one, we will move on to board member response to call to the public. And let's keep this board member response to call to the public and not get off into the weeds on something else, because we'll have another opportunity later in the meeting. Okay. Oh, yeah. Ms. Bellinger.
I am in no way connected to the account, Mr. Dillon, Dylan Atkinson, of James the Lemon. The person associated with that account just left the room.
Well, we're not going back and forth here. This is not a conversation. Mr. Atkinson, I'll have to have you removed. Okay, any other board members would like to speak?
Yes.
Mr. Atkinson, I will have you removed from this meeting if you don't be quiet. Thank you. Mr. Dockett?
Yes. I know what you said, but I'd like to know what's happened to the building department inspection study that the township board started 4 or 5 months ago. The board did discover that the building department was operating in the red by about $50,000 this year, about $100,000 next year, if the township continues to go forward without any changes. The ordinance officer spends a lot of time on this building stuff. Just look what he spent on 244 East Shore. Our legal department spends a lot of time on it. The staff spends a lot of time on it. We all know that Washtenaw County will do the building inspections and handle all the litigation at no cost to the township. I will make a motion to put the building department study back on the very next agenda.
I support.
And I would like to have it on the 1, 2, or 3. Please get this in the minutes. The 1, 2, or 3 items. Number items. I don't want it on the 12, 13, 14 items. I want us to be able to get to it.
Okay.
So I want it at the beginning of the meeting, and I'm putting that into my motion.
I supported your motion, Mr. Dockett.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
we have a motion to add the building department study to the next agenda.
Talk about it.
And to be early in the agenda, he recommends position
Yes.
1, 2, or 3.
Okay, discussion. This is the time for call to the public, so it would be more appropriate to deal with that later, Mr. Dockett.
I made the motion.
I know you made your motion, unfortunately,
I got
we
a
will
second.
deal with it.
And I got a second.
So we're gonna have
let's-
discussion. Anyone else have anything they'd like to say? Ms. Manley?
I just want to agree with Mr. Dockett that all of our other goals and priorities have not been done, not given any attention to this year. So I want to thank Mr. Dockett for bringing that one up. That's very important.
Yep. Anybody else have anything? Well, I have to say, if you read my report in there, we have a lot of stuff that's important. And I appreciate the fact that, yes, we need to get on with the business of the people and move past this.
3 or 4 months.
Yeah, oh yeah.
We're losing money every day. 50,000 this year.
Okay, but anyway, we will have a vote. Mr. Ains, will we be able to be ready for that at the next meeting?
I can bring it back to you at that point. You also have instructed me to bring back the issue of concealed weapons by employees for the next meeting. So you've got a lot of things going to be on. And then there's a presentation, discussion going to be on the North Village project. And then the auditors are here now, and they'll be coming back in a couple meetings too. But there's a whole lot of items that have been tabled or not even introduced because of the meetings being cut off at 9 or 9:30, and the discussions going quite long with the call of the public. So,
Okay.
We're not going to settle it at the next meeting, but we'll get it started. I don't know how the rest of the people feel.
No, that's fine, Mr. Okay, I will
Right,
call
and-
the question,
Yeah. Well, okay.
unless you have something to say.
I just said, well, we have to look at the fees too, because Mr. Dockett brings up a really good point. So,
Fee schedule, yep. Okay, all in favor of putting that on the next agenda, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you. It will be in 1, 2, or 3.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, now we're still back to board member response to call to the public. Does anyone else have anything? Ms. Otto?
Okay, I just wanted to respond in regards to the comment that was made about hospice. I've been in healthcare for over 30 years, and hospice was founded in 1974. It became a Medicare benefit in 1982, and it was a permanent benefit in 1986. That is 33 years ago. So hospice is not just recently a paid benefit. It's been in existence for a long time for healthcare.
Anyone else? Ms. Chick?
Okay, real quickly, I just want, for personal reasons with my family, I've been dealing with the University of Michigan Hospital and a healthcare facility daily for a year and a half. I have talked to
doctors at the University of Michigan, nurses at the University of Michigan, physical therapists at the University of Michigan, pharmacists at the University of Michigan. At the facility my husband's in right now, the scene is the nurses, the doctors there. Every single one of them recommend to use marijuana for the patients that are having neurological problems to deal with pain. So it's mainstream now, and even though they can't formally come out and say something, although some doctors have written papers on it, it is a benefit to people that need it or want it or need to use it.
Okay, thank you.
I have one more thing. I just wanted to let the board know that I am leaving at 9 o'clock tonight.
Okay.
To be with my sister.
Okay.
I have a 7:30 at the VA tomorrow morning.
Looks like we may all be leaving at 9 o'clock tonight.
Okay, well, hopefully there'll be 4 of us left to finish the business.
Maybe.
Okay.
I do have a comment. So
Go ahead.
as people have come out and said at the meetings, 64% of the people voted to legalize marijuana in our township. And regardless of my personal opinion, as a board member, I feel, in my opinion, I need to represent the majority, again, regardless of what I may or may not personally feel in this item. And so we are trying to get an ordinance in place that we think is representative, and it has taken us time, but I think it's because we're putting actually a lot of thought into it. As far as I encourage people to support the businesses that we do have downtown right now, in any business in our township, be it downtown or anywhere. Because I think that has been an issue in the past where even the people that we have aren't supporting our businesses and they do leave. And overall, I know that this has been a very controversial issue as far as marijuana, as far as the yes and no vote and all that. I would all ask everybody to remain respectful to each other's opinions. It's good to listen to everybody's opinion and just, we all have different opinions, and I may not like your opinion, or it doesn't mean I can't be civil and just have an intelligent conversation with everybody. And leave your signs alone. Leave them out there. And I've been here 25 years. I love this township. I like being here. And I'm glad I am here. So thank you for coming out tonight, everyone.
Thank you. Ms. Manley?
Yeah, just quickly, again, thanks for everybody coming out. Thank you to those that were respectful in your comments. It's much appreciated. And again, we're board members. Just because we're board members, that doesn't give us, we don't lose our First Amendment rights. So, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, and I do want to say that, we have a charge that some of us have had a conflict of interest because we collected a few signatures. We're not a judicial body, and that you have to be more, set back. And if you're a judicial body, and we're not, we're a legislative body, and everybody out there knows who's on which side of this issue. So my expectation is that we will really know after November 5th, and we'll move forward with the best ordinance that we can, or we will be opted out. So my expectation is that, and please respect the free speech rights of each of us who may or may not have a sign of one side or the other out there. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the consent agenda as distributed in your packet.
Support.
Motion by Chalkley, support by Manley. Do we have any discussion on these items? Mr. Dockett has one.
I would like to pull. I would like. Excuse me. I'd like to pull the sewer plant.
Just ask your question right now, since it's a question. Correct? That could have been asked prior to the meeting tonight, but go ahead, Mr. Dockett.
See, why do you have to do that?
Because you could ask your question ahead of the meeting.
Why do you have to be a smart ass?
Oh, because I am. Go ahead, ask your question.
That pisses me off. I don't want you talking to me like that. That's just not fair. Okay. want to know from the manager, I'd like to have the manager explain what's been happening with the young man that got up here and wanted to buy the lots in the Horseshoe Lake. He wanted to buy them the next day and pay whatever he had to pay to get them. What's happened on them? I'd like to have you explain to us where we're at.
The board indicated that your attorney should prepare the documents to do the sale and also have a title search conducted and go through that process and come up with a standard agreement that could be used for other sales of property because you wanted to do that. So at this point, I believe we've got those details worked out. It's just going to be a matter of having the gentleman sign it, and me sign it, and then it'll be taking the money at that point. However, I've got another party that's expressed interest in another piece of property that I've been communicating with by phone and email, and that I'm trying to get on for the next agenda.
Okay, will you try to get this done with this guy that's real antsy about buying? If we have everything we need, why can't we just do it?
I guess for one reason, I keep being told to do other priorities. So a lot of time I get started on something, something else comes up, and the board or the public demands immediate response.
I think the guy is anxious.
I am too. I want to see him get in and get the house
If we
built.
have everything, I'd like to see it follow through, please.
Okay.
Yes.
Next thing on the agenda is I'd like to know on the sewer plant, what is a manhole block?
When they bring manholes up higher, they make a block, a solid block, like a it's
cement
curved.
block? Cement.
So, yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah, curved.
they can make a ring with it because it's curved around.
How big is it?
It's
Okay.
not that wide.
And that's big enough to stop up the
Yes, it is.
the main?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
They're almost like the blocks you put in your patio.
so what, they had to raise it for some reason, then they left, they're so heavy, they left it down on the sewer.
I'm assuming they did. I have no proof.
Okay. What next thing is, I see that in 2018, there was 4.35 inches of rain, and this year, 2019, is 6.79, about almost more than 3 inches more.
Yes.
And we didn't have any problem.
No, it depends on the weather and the growth of the plants and stuff. You know, if this was in April, March, we'd be really hurt.
Oh,
Okay. Is that everything, Mr. Dockett?
that's it. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, the motion stands to accept the consent agenda as distributed. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you, that passes 7-0. All right, next item.
That's all of this?
That's it. Yep, the whole thing.
A lot of wasted paperwork there.
Well, you read it.
I read it.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't agree with it.
Okay, correspondence and announcements. Do we have any correspondence? Ms. Manley?
Hey, it's more of an announcement. I do have absentee voter ballot applications if anybody needs, and I know there are some out on the table outside also. They're online. If you need one, just contact the clerk's office. And we are also in need of some election workers for the November 5th election. If anybody's interested, we're in more need of Democrats. So if there's any of you out there, we would love for you to come work. Just contact myself or the clerk's office. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next, go ahead, Ms. Selna.
So I'd just like to say that Kiwanis is sponsoring a chili cook-off from 11 to 2 at Living Water. There'll be music, games for children, and of course, chili cook-off. We're looking for people to enter their chili. So please come and participate. It should be a fun day. Thank you. No, it's Saturday. Did I say Sunday? No. Oh, Saturday.
Okay.
Sorry, I got one other thing.
One more, go ahead.
And I'd like to announce the police and fire open house, which is going to be Sunday from 1 to 4 here at the township.
Okay. And the Whitmore Lake Chamber is having a wine and beer tasting at the Whitmore Lanes from 4:30 to 7 on October 16th. It's to raise scholarship money for the Whitmore Lake High School. So if anybody wants a ticket, they're $25 and I have them. So that will be October 16th, 4:30 to 7, Whitmore Lanes. Okay. All right, the first item on the agenda is to approve the payment of open bills. I will make a motion to approve the payment of the open bills, expected check run date of 10/9/19 for a total of $102,433.19 from all funds in the Municipal Investment Fund account. Motion by Chalkley, support by Otto. Any discussion on this one? Mr. Dockett?
I see where our attorney bills for this month was over $14,000. Usually our attorney bill runs around 7, 8, 9,000 a month. So it's 14,700.
What page are you,
what's going on?
what page are you looking at?
Page 1 added it up.
I looked on page 1. It is $1,000 for Paul Burns. Paul Burns, 500. Paul Burns another 500. That's 1,000. Drop down about the second column from the bottom. $6,842. Page 3. Page 2 of 5. Paul Burns, total of $6,912. A lot of money for attorneys, twice as much as it usually is.
Yeah, some of that was allocated from two other departments. I don't think it was quite that much.
It don't make any difference.
Yeah.
It's money.
But, right, and if our meetings were shorter, we would save some money. The $500 is the retainer. Okay.
So
But I'm just saying, when I look at these bills that are usually 7, 8.
Looks like we have 2 months of bills in here.
Yeah.
So you have August and September.
Yeah, that's probably
That's
the
why.
reason.
Yep.
Yeah, Mr. Dockett, there's 2 months. There's August and September, and usually we don't have both months in the same bill. And I will speak to the Treasury, the $500. I get allocated $500 every month from his retainer, if I use it or don't. So.
Thank you
Okay.
for the explanation.
All right, so the motion has been made by Chalkley and seconded by Otto. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you, that passes 7-0. Okay, the next item is Resolution 19612, the adoption of the master plan. And this is huge. So I think the board may have some questions about this as we move on to it.
Huge.
It is. Okay.
Over 200 pages.
Yeah, it looks like he's missing some, yeah. Okay. Well, I have a lot of my usual issues with typos and things. So I have a lot of that sort of thing, but I was told not to say anything except at the board meeting. So I'd like the board's permission to just let Mr. Lippens know about the commas and the spaces missing and the periods missing and, words where a letter is not there, so that we can actually have a complete copy. Is that okay, Ms. Chick?
So the typos wasn't the issue, it was just changing language, so.
Yeah.
Right.
So I can do that, let him know. Okay, thank you. Do we, how do you want us to go through this, Mr. Lippens? Do you have a recommendation? Or are you just hoping for a motion and we just push it through? Yeah, no. Through. Right.
So, very happy that the master plan is on the board's agenda this evening. As you know, the state requires a township to look at their master plan every 5 years. This is the 5-year update. For the most part, our plan was to look at a few specific things and validate and verify a lot of the policies that were set in the previous 2014 update. That's what we set about doing. Certainly would thank Planning Commission for all the hard work that they did in this process and working to present a draft that is, I think, much improved and reflective of the direction that we got both from Planning Commission and the board, as well as the residents who participate in the public engagement. I think it's also worth noting that by adopting the master plan, the township is kind of completing the policy part of the other two plans that the township has created in the past 3 years, the North Village plan and the downtown plan, which have both been adopted from a policy perspective, but not officially as part of the master plan. As with respect to typos, commas, periods, a lot of those things are comments that we have received from a variety of people who have participated in the process. Let's say sometimes we get one person suggesting a comma one place and another person suggesting no comma, and we go back and forth on those things. So I kind of like to defer to the last editor. What I would suggest the board do is, if they're so inclined to accept kind of the last edit from the supervisor on those types of things, I would say to just modify your adoption resolution to say with minor editing changes to be given in writing. Okay. I prefer to just get a written document that has those type of typos than to go through page by page and take notes.
I agree.
Because it's a laborious task that really does no one any good. With respect to those specific questions, I think that's the guidance you asked me for, so that's what I'm advising. Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Chick.
I'm thinking any kind of changes like that, just send them to Mr. Lippens and he will make the determination whether or not it's fitting or not.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Well, does anyone want to discuss any particular parts of the master plan? Ms. Zelnok.
So I just have a couple items. I do have more items, but I have a couple just general ones. On December 11th, 2017, there was a memo about what you would be doing, your firm, on the plan. And in particular, I had one, said something about an implementation matrix. It said the implementation matrix would be at the end of the document and would list each of the projects necessary to implement the plan, as well as the framework, priority, and responsible body. For example, the commercial development section may include certain zoning ordinance updates to initiate by the Planning Commission within the next 1 to 2 years. I don't think I saw that. And if I did, I'm not sure what it looks like.
What page what are you on?
So there was a memo that came to the board at our December 12th meeting, 2017, authorizing the master plan and zoning update, and it's indicated the scope of work. And one item was this implementation matrix, and I wasn't sure what that was, and nor do I think I saw it. Maybe is that under the zoning plan? because it talks about, putting in general updates, the data, the maps, the new policies, removal of outdated policies, area plan changes, zoning plan, implementation, non-motorized path, open space preservation plan, and then Whitmore Lake Downtown Action Plan. So I was wondering what that was, and
Yes, I think that the zoning plan does cover some of that task. Once you get into writing a plan, you make certain decisions about how to best to write up the guidance.
Yeah.
So there are development strategies that are included also throughout the plan, and that's another way that implementation was dealt with in the plan.
okay. So I mean, I would guess I was, based on this, I was expecting some sort of matrix would be at the end of the document, which I don't see. So I guess that wasn't accomplished or was deemed not necessary.
I think that implementation is integrated in the plan,
Okay.
not quite in the way that we had envisioned it at that time, but
Okay.
sometimes you make choices when you're writing a document that are a little different than you thought at the start. But we
Okay.
certainly addressed implementation in the plan.
Okay. And then just a general comment is, how many comments did you basically receive from the public overall? Just in general? An estimate?
I'd have to look. I don't have that offhand
Okay.
in my memory. But we did a public engagement session as well as some online engagement and referenced the engagement that was done throughout the other two planning processes that I mentioned as well.
And emails as well. We got emails.
What's that?
Emails as well.
We got a lot of emails that was documented as part of the process. We held public hearings, and it is described in the plan.
Right. I was just, if we had any, thought of how many, I was just looking for an overall number of how many comments did we get, how many did we incorporate. I know I gave quite a few, and a lot of them were incorporated, so thank you very much.
I can tell you that everything that we got was considered.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then a lot of what we got from the public was implemented as well,
Okay.
with some discussion.
Thank you.
My first impression is that it's really a nice work, a nice body of work, and there's a lot of detail in here. I like the picture changes. You did a good job with that. Somebody must have spent a lot of time out there taking photos.
We did send people out to take
Yeah.
photos on nice days, so.
Yeah.
One to change.
One to change? Okay.
Which
well,
one is that?
Maybe you could point it out for us.
It looks like a farm implement, we think, right?
Yeah, it's a farm under Parks. It's a picture of a farm, and I don't have a problem with the farm, but it doesn't go with parks and open spaces and recreation.
Okay.
I see.
Well, maybe
I
we
would
can
like to
change that out.
probably see one of the parks there. Probably 7 Mile. That is a new
It's a
county
very nice
park.
park.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
Yeah.
Natural area, it's very nice.
Yeah,
That
Encourage
would be a
anybody who
good
hasn't been there,
example
go
of-
there.
Of some of the
That-
work that has happened with the
Yeah.
county.
That is a very specific comment and type of comment that I like.
I will make sure to give it to you.
So, yeah.
So
That can be done.
is
Yeah.
that, yeah, and if you look at page, sorry, Ms. Otto, I took your floor. So if you go to page 4, I'm like, man, all the beautiful pictures we've seen on Facebook. I'm not sure about this one. I know it seems petty, but I'm not even sure what it is. It looks like a bunch of boat docks.
Oh, it is.
Oh, it is a boat.
Boat.
It lifts.
Yeah,
boats
lifts.
up.
I don't know. I think we have a beautiful, beautiful lake. Would be a lot nicer.
We can send you some.
And then the sunrise, sunrays.
Yeah,
Talk to
we can
Denise.
send you some.
Yeah, they're awesome.
So,
Yeah, it's a boat lift. It doesn't seem to be so pretty.
okay, I like that one. But this is where taste comes in, right? So
Well, yeah.
if you have another one that you like, I'm happy to switch it.
I'm not sure. I just.
It would have been prettier if that would have been voted on it.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Okay.
Anyway.
Ms. Otto?
So on the municipal service expansion policies.
Yes.
What
that was
page?
on
35.
Page 35.
Yes.
I do appreciate putting something in there about leapfrogging, but I don't think you explain what that is. So if the public, and maybe this isn't for the public to look at, and maybe to people who do understand what leapfrogging is, but I know you know what it is.
Yeah.
I know what it is, but I'm sure the public doesn't know what it is. That it could be an explanation in there. And I also wonder why we didn't talk more about our SAW grant and our inventory of assets.
I agree.
I think it's really important because it talks about that the township has made a commitment for improvements.
Did you prepare a sentence, Ms.
No,
Otto?
because I had the same kind of at Miss Otto, because we were granted the SAW grant. We signed the contract on, when was it, December 14th, was it? And it was for $535,847, and the time period is eligible for the cost from January 2013 to December 2020. The projected scope is the completion of a wastewater asset management plan. And I think that's really important.
That would be.
That's a sentence.
That's a sentence, and that's great.
So I just thought, I just had the DEQ approved grant, and the amount was for the amount I said in that. And I think we signed the contract December 14th, was it, Mr. Ains? I think I had you pull that.
Yes, the board approved signing it October 10th.
Yep.
But by the time they wanted my signature at the state, and then they each signed
Right.
it before it came back, so it was the date that they signed it.
Yeah, I think it was the 14th. So I just think that's pretty significant that should be included. You can pick the words. I can send you the statement. Ms. Otto, you could do one as well.
Yeah, the date on the signature was December 14th, 2017.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I also think that similar to that grant, I think on page 68, when we talk about our non-motorized plan, we don't capitalize on the new grant that we got for the pathway to add playground and interactive activities and stuff like that. I think that's important to note as well.
That
The
came in,
kaboom.
yeah, that came in, I think, probably post master
Yeah.
plan, but
But
we
I
can
think
add
it's
it.
a good insert here.
I think it's a good insert.
Yeah, it came in after, it's more recent.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
yeah, I agree.
It was a great grant opportunity, and we were very fortunate to be recipients.
What was the page you were suggesting for that?
It was page
68.
68.
68.
Yeah. Okay. Did you have more, Ms. Otto?
Yeah, and on page 74, when we talk about municipal services expansion, it's just a continuation of that SAW grant and asset management. So I would just copy whatever sentence you put on page 35, you put on this one.
Yep.
What page is that?
74.
And while you're on that page, I have something for that page as well.
Go ahead and, since he's on that page, Ms. Chick.
The very last sentence under capital improvement plan says the plan should be revised and updated to reflect the capital improvement priorities moving forward. We already adopted our capital improvement
That's
plan,
correct.
but I don't have the date in here.
We adopted it on 5/28/19, the capital improvement plan adopted for the township for 2019 through 2024.
On municipal service expansion policies on page 35, the township increased the sewer tap fees for everybody, not just new businesses. So I think we could just put a period after the township has increased the sewer tap fees. And, well, tap fees for, yeah, for new, it could be for any new, for new connections, yeah. And then I thought that possibly the township had already adopted a formal municipal service expansion procedure or policy. Would Mr. Dockett or Ms. Otto or Ms. Chick know? Has that happened in the prior administration?
Explain what that was.
A municipal service expansion policy. It's the leapfrogging thing. Do you know if the board adopted an official policy?
Did we, I don't think we
Or
did
procedure?
accept an
No.
official policy on it.
Okay. I
But I
it was
know
talked
that
about.
the issue with Biltmore was based on leapfrogging. And so there was some great concerns about it. But I don't think a policy was ever developed since then.
Okay. All right, we'll leave that in there because we'll want to do that, I think.
I can't find it, but I wanted, we talked about this at the planning commission meeting, and I don't recall seeing it, about putting in the master plan in the area where it discusses sewer expansion, that the property owners could request an SAD.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact page that comment was,
No.
but we did make those changes that the planning
SADs in
commission
here?
recommended.
Okay.
I don't remember reading it.
That, there were, I think, a couple different future land use sections that mentioned development strategies with respect to that, possibly the agricultural residential discussion.
Yeah, it was.
And I got notes from the planning commission on it, on those, and made the changes planning commission recommended prior to the vote planning commission made to forward the plan.
So I'm back on page 35 again on number 4, and it says that municipal sewer service should not be extended beyond those areas planned for medium-density residential. And I'm just wondering, what about the commercial and industrial area? Or maybe we just don't have any that would need it at this point.
I don't think so. I think it all has it.
Pardon?
I think it all has it. I mean,
It all has it? Commercial and industrial?
Lemire Lake Road, North Territorial.
Does the LaFave property have it? Yeah, I guess you're right.
They have it.
Okay. Then scratch that.
I mean, as far as I know, I think it all has it, all the sewer districts.
Okay. Anybody
We
have
gave
another?
LaFave anything he wanted.
I have one on
We
page,
gave him,
page
we
1.
gave him residential. We
Yeah.
gave him commercial.
Yeah.
We even gave him some industrial.
Yeah.
So he's got everything over there.
So you have something on page 1?
Just the first sentence, it just says, it may be a vision of future growth and preservation of character. I think we should preserve our character, but I'm not sure, is that the intent?
It's not worded very clearly.
For future growth and preservation of character.
Yeah, Yeah, you're right, it's spelled wrong.
That too.
I missed that one.
But I don't know, it was that, I mean, preservation of farmland, open space.
There was
but
a lot of discussion
know.
over this first sentence.
I
And
know.
the problem was, or the first paragraph, the problem was there was a lot of pressure to put land preservation on every other page. But the issue is there's no description of what land preservation is, and it means different things to different people. So we're trying to like broaden it so that, you know.
But I mean,
because
was that the real intent to preserve the character?
I would think so.
Should be,
Okay.
Don't we want to?
or rural character, I mean, maybe just
Or
rural.
preservation of characteristics, I don't know.
I don't know, it just seemed like, yeah, okay, I want to preserve my character.
I see what you're saying. There's a word missing besides character.
I think so.
Rural character, maybe.
I don't know. I don't know the discussions, but it seems like
But you don't-
character is more
But
of a
we're not
personal.
just rural,
You're right.
we're lake and rural.
Right,
And so
right,
then
yeah.
future growth and then.
So I mean, it's okay. I mean, I think of character as more of a personal
Yeah.
item, and maybe that's
Yeah.
my, without having any other adjective to it.
Doesn't need a word like township character in front of the word?
I don't know. So anyway, it's just the first sentence that hits, and it's like, preserve of character. We could all use that.
Or just take out preservation of character. But then you're totally missing
The rest of
the
it.
rest of it, yeah.
Well, just take out of character and go, well, take out character and say preservation of farmland, open space, and natural features.
No, but then what do you, we have a downtown area that's.
Right,
sort of-
right, that's what we
Yeah.
just
That's
thought.
totally removed from it. yeah.
Right.
And-
Okay.
And we have areas designed for growth, so it can't just be
Yeah.
one or
Okay.
the other.
All right.
Okay.
I was just,
Yeah.
it seemed more like an adjective or two were missing. So I'm,
Okay.
now that we have had that discussion.
Okay, Ms. Otto?
So with that in mind, it appeared, the policy for
What
guide,
page?
I'm just going to say it because it's on multiple pages.
But do you have one you're kind of looking at?
The one
So we
is
can
on
look at with you?
page 28, it's the second bullet, which says, guide development to foster responsible use of land, preservation of farmland and natural features, and make the best use of existing public services, utilities, and infrastructure. So, the concern that I have is we have it in the agricultural open spaces, which, yes, it belongs there. We have it under the natural resources, but yes, it belongs there. Residential development, and we're talking about the downtown area. Now I'm wondering, why are we including farmland in that, and the same with the village center, farmland in that?
I agree.
When farmland is not involved in those two areas, and then we go back to mixed use, which farmland is included in that, and then commercial industrial use, farmland is included in that. I feel like we've overused that sentence, and all we did, and I'm just going to say it, is we cookie cuttered it. We just did a cookie cutter. And just
It's repetition.
slapped it in, slapped it in, slapped it in. And I think when we start talking about different areas, we need to be more mindful of what that area needs. It can't be just cookie cutter.
It sounds like it's more of a general
Needs to be
policy. It's
uniquely.
not specific.
I know, but
It
you're
is.
talking about residential development.
Right.
And it is specific, and you're talking about the downtown area, and that is
Right.
specific.
It was taken from.
Because the second
from
one is
last,
to maintain a pattern of
master
development.
plan.
That's on all
But we
of them
can change
also.
it.
But
Yeah.
doesn't make it right.
No.
So I'm wondering, and I don't have a problem with preserving farmland. What I'm saying is that you're not going to preserve it in the village center.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so we could remove it from there, but in residential development, you can have open space development.
And it should say open space.
Right, open space, or, you know, we could
Yeah,
have something surrounded.
You can change it to open space.
So that could be, still be there under residential. But I agree with the village center, it's sort of not.
It's a little interesting how it pops up repeatedly everywhere throughout the document.
That's
Well,
ju-
there's
that's
kind
just
of a lot
method.
of these that are popping up,
Yeah,
but that one
yeah.
really caught my eye, especially when I got to the village center, and I'm going, okay, where is it? And I do understand that we have to have the natural features and responsible use of land and use our existing public services and utilities and infrastructure. I get all that.
So what is the recommendation?
I think just replacing preserved farmland with open space if you want to,
In residential, correct?
in residential,
Okay.
and then take it out in village center.
We could just leave make best use of existing public services, utilities, and infrastructure, and take out the first part.
Best use of land and take out preserved farmland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, it is repetitious, and it goes on into a commercial industrial too, so maybe there can be some fixing of that particular bullet.
So the question I have is that, okay, we've talked about changes that we want to see made and everything, but there was a great concern that there was a company that was waiting for this to be
correct,
to be approved.
Yep.
What I did find out is that he had two options. He could have went through the normal way of getting approval, or he could have gone through the master plan to get approved. And I was also told that as of today, he could have went back to option one and still went back to get approved. And really all we're holding up for is because of a shed.
Of what?
A shed, a pole barn.
A pole barn.
Yeah, because...
Because you can't get a permit to build it.
Right, and it's in here, but it's not in there. But you're holding up a whole building. I mean, there's more than just, he's doing more than just a pole barn.
Right.
He's doing a whole building. So,
well,
you know, where do we stand now? Because everybody's going to want to see
Yeah.
the changes first before
Right.
we even
Well,
vote on this.
let me interject something. I've looked at this, you know, as far as the postings go. If there's going to be a rezoning, it needs to be posted 15 days prior. So that kind of backs things up. If there's and then if there's a rezoning, even if there's a rezoning, the conditional use would also require another 15 days posting before the planning commission would see it. And then it would have to come to the board, and the board would have to approve the conditional use, and the board has to approve the rezoning. So there's a lot of, I don't know, a lot of steps that go into this. And we have delayed the master plan for so long that that's an issue. But I think we have time to go ahead and bring it back at the next meeting with all of the changes, and then I would think that it would be easy to adopt it at that point. And it's not going to delay that company because of the postings that need to happen anyway. And, you know, they're going to have trouble getting their footings in before November. But I would like Paul to, Mr. Lippens, to work carefully with them to move it along as easily and as efficiently as you can.
And they still need to go through site plan review and all
They do.
that.
Oh, absolutely.
And so my concern is why
Why are we pushing it for him? Yeah.
why were we pushing this for him when this, all this other stuff could have already been done? I mean, was he not ready? Was he?
No, he can't do site plan, and he can't do that before rezoning. Can he?
Well,
Mr. Lippens,
what
you
I
tell
was
the
told
story.
that he could have done the building and then left the shed or the other structure until the spring, until the master plan was approved. So I'm just gonna say this. I think sometimes we don't problem solve for our residents, and we need to start being more problem solvers than just going by the book sometimes.
Yeah.
I would just respectfully say that certainly this particular applicant, I've sat down with them, problem solved with them, talked through their options in quite detail, and instructed them to file site plan applications, which they may have done now, but had not done at a previous point. And I don't see really even why this is being raised as an issue with the master plan. What I would say is, yeah, we're really close, we should adopt the master plan, but there's a whole bunch of reasons why we should do that.
Yeah.
And I agree with the supervisor's assessment that, you know, we're talking about some minor changes that I can make, and the next meeting's coming right up, so.
Ms. Chick?
I just want to clarify that the reason that this was brought up was because we were told that we were doing this for this person. Yes.
That it needed to be approved because of this concern.
Because of this, that's what we were told.
They're clarifying.
Yes, thank you.
I have a question for Chuck.
Go ahead, Mr. Dockett.
Are we past the 5-year limit? On
For the
every
master
5
plan?
years, where
We're
we
there.
at on the time
We're
frame?
right there, yeah.
Excuse me?
We're within the time frame.
Okay, but I mean, we passed the 5-year limit. Are we in violation or anything like that? I mean,
No, this would be the year to do it.
okay, so we have time.
Yep.
A little bit.
Right. I think we should be able to get this done at the next meeting. But I'm glad the board is taking such a good look at this and making suggestions.
So if you go to page 19,
Okay.
and then under 2004 Washtenaw County Comprehensive Plan, bullet point 3.
Bullet 3?
Yep, encourage.
Right, there's a
No
W.
activity center?
Yeah.
Is it just
no,
the?
or
No, I think it's new.
New? Okay.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I've circled a whole bunch of things
Well,
like
I mean,
that.
I actually, you know,
Is it new?
I'm not the
or-
best speller myself, so I'm not going to catch those. Commas to me is a preference. My husband and I debate commas all the time. But I wasn't sure what that was actually supposed to be.
I'm not going to go through all my typos and things.
I do have something about, on page 97, talk about public transportation, and it says People's Express, which is operated by Northfield Human Services. People's Express is its own entity, so we need to just X out or cross out which is operated by Northfield Human Services on page 97. I didn't catch that earlier until.
Okay.
Say it's its own entity?
Yes.
It's a private company, or?
No, it's a nonprofit, but it has its own EIN number, it has its own
Okay.
board.
It's separate from the Human Services?
It's not operated by Northfield Human Services.
Okay, great, thanks.
Long time ago, about 15 years ago, that was the case. And then, this is probably a picky one, but since we're close, 96. I was just thinking on police and fire services, the township, at the bottom we have the township has a paid on-call fire department. I was thinking that should go up a paragraph.
I agree too.
Under the fire.
Yep. I have a comment about page 93. It talks about, in the top of the right-hand column, it says, in addition to the PA 116 program, Northfield Township has participated in the Legacy Land Conservancy's Purchase of Development Rights program. The PDR program offers several advantages. I don't recall us doing anything. Does anybody have we worked with the Greenbelt.
The
What page is
residents
this?
have, go ahead, Paul.
What page? Sorry.
93 at the top of the right-hand column.
We do have we have some properties that are in the Land Conservancy.
Yes, we have some properties,
The
but I don't
township
think
does.
the township did anything to help them get it. I mean, maybe they did.
I think that came right out of the last master plan, but I don't recall. We'd have to check.
Okay.
We do have properties in the township that have participated.
Right, we
Or
do.
are under, or,
Oh, 'cause I think of Northfield Township as the government. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't mean the government. Okay.
I mean, yeah, it could be Northfield Township residents have participated.
Yeah, Northfield Township landowners.
Yeah, landowners.
Landowners,
That would be an improvement over that statement, yes.
yeah. And then we can add the Greenbelt program too, because there are a lot of them.
There was a lot of discussion on that.
Oh,
We can't, we haven't adopted it as a policy from the board, so we shouldn't put it in the
Oh.
master plan.
This isn't a policy, is it?
It's considered a policy, well, people use it as a policy
Oh, I thought it was
document.
just a statement that.
No,
No?
the board hasn't decided to do that, so we shouldn't add it.
Okay.
We don't even know if the public wants it, so.
Okay. But we do have properties out there in the Greenbelt program.
That we do.
So the one thing that I noticed in here that it doesn't speak of is how many farms we have and how many, the percentage of farmland that is in Northfield Township.
On page 93?
Yeah, when I looked at this,
Oh,
I
no.
said, well, this is very nice. This is very nice and everything, but it doesn't tell me how many farms are actually farming, and then what's the percentage of farmland in Northfield Township?
Yeah, I was hoping when we've got on the board like 3 years ago that we'd be auditing that or getting information possibly from the land preservation.
We inquired, it's data that really isn't, as far as active farms, isn't really collected.
Yeah.
You self sort of report, so if you're maybe getting some subsidy, you would report it, but it's kind of like, the MTA and the township manager, some report, some don't report that they're active or not. It isn't an easily obtained number. I mean,
Yeah, talking about just farmland?
Yeah, just
Or
farmland.
Active farms, yeah.
active farms,
Because
farmland.
she said 70% for as ag, is that what you said?
Well,
I
I
didn't
know
say
how
that.
much is the ag
Right,
land, but I
but-
wanted to know out of that, how much is actually farmed.
That is not like a.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah, the Farm Bureau might have that information, but
They
my
might.
understanding and talking to people is that it's self-reported. It isn't mandated.
Well,
We could try to work with them.
Yeah.
I mean, the Land Preservation Committee could try to work and see if we can get that data. But again, it isn't, it's, people don't have to report it and.
Well, when I was doing my little market garden, I would get census stuff from the Department of Agriculture that I was required to fill out just for my little market garden. So I'm sure that the government knows how many people are farming, and they ask
Only
how
if
many.
you fill it out.
How many? Well, it's illegal to not fill it out.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, yeah.
I didn't realize.
I would
you-
get fined.
Oh,
you know.
okay. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that was the case.
Yeah, it was, so, I don't know. Okay, what else? Okay, page 46, bullet number 4 on Village Center. It says, establish a form-based code to provide flexibility in uses. Don't we sort of have, the Whitmore Lake districts were developed for that.
And
Yeah.
probably instead of established, accepted
Right.
in past tense.
I think since we're working on the zoning ordinance, I thought that that would be an appropriate recommendation to stay in, which would allow us to look at that and modify it.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So, I don't know about establish, you might say,
Modify.
improve or, I
Improve.
don't know, modify, I don't know, something like that.
Modified
What page
probably
was that
sounds
again?
better.
Oh, right.
Modify?
46.
Yep, number 4.
Cool.
And then under commercial, on that same page, number 2, it looks like that should be in the central sub-area instead of, this looks like the lakes sub-area we're dealing with here. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's talking about central US 23 interchanges, so.
I'm just gonna write delete or move.
Yeah. I'll give you all my papers that are scribbled all up if you want. Okay. And then under general number 2, I would like to cross off a dog park and replace that with walking trails. Since that's what we want to do in the village center, you know. I don't think we want another dog park. No dog park in this, yeah.
What page was that again?
Page 46. Okay. All right. Okay, page 55. It's talking about high-density residential land use, and under most compatible zoning districts at the bottom of the left column, it says, it talks about serviced by municipal sewer and water services. We don't have water services. And it says, including SR2, we are not supposed to develop any more SR2. Should that be in there?
Do we have SR1? We don't develop SR1 either.
Well, SR2 is like a non-conforming kind of, because they're small.
I know what SR1 and SR2
We have SR1.
Do we have, are both of them, we're not doing SR1 and SR2? Single-family residential?
Single-family residential 1. Those are normal-sized lots. Single-family residential 2 are small lots, like around the lakes. And the zoning ordinance talks about not developing any more SR2.
Okay, but if it's a lot of record, then that's different.
That's a lot of what?
If it is a lot of record before we made the zoning, it's okay.
Are the other ones grandfathered
Oh,
in?
yeah, it's grandfathered, right, but we don't want to do any new stuff, yeah.
So, but if it's zoned SR2,
Yeah.
you can make any modifications that you're permitted to by right in the SR2 district.
Yeah.
We don't want to create new SR2.
Right, correct. So
is
I'm
this
just asking.
an accurate statement?
I don't know.
Well, it's saying that high-density residential is appropriate in SR2. So, and there is SR2.
You can make high-density residential.
That's what it's saying, which
Okay.
if we disagree, we can change that.
No? I just don't, I was confused about when it's talking about SR2 for high-density residential. I guess you're right. We just won't make any more.
Exactly.
Right.
We were on there, page 54, under the medium-density residential land use, paragraph 3. It says, where sewer service is not currently available, expansion shall only occur in accordance with the township's municipal service expansion policy, as described in this master plan. And what is that policy, and where do I find it?
No leapfrogging.
Okay.
That's
Is that the policy?
No leapfrogging.
Can we just stay that?
Could probably be spelled out a little better, but.
I mean, can we just,
That's what I mean, is because people don't understand what leapfrogging is.
oh, okay, but.
Right, it does. Right?
It does.
Yeah, it does, but.
Yeah.
is
But it seems-
Leapfrogging.
Yeah, my thought is, by reading that sentence, I expect to have some policy somewhere on a page, that here's our sewer expansion policy. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
But I'm like, okay, where is it? Did I miss it? Let me read it. Yeah, I couldn't find,
Okay.
so, all right. It just seems like there should be a policy.
I was like, oh my God.
Okay.
Okay.
The vision
Should've
is.
talked me off the shelf
So
yesterday.
basically, it's no leapfrogging that.
No leapfrogging.
Okay. All right, we don't have a policy, so we're okay with leaving it in there like that?
I have seen something written, but I don't know where it is at this point.
No, it's somewhere in the master plan,
It's not
according
in
to the
master plan.
statement.
Yeah,
Well, they do have leapfrogging now.
okay. Page 58, we're talking about most compatible zoning districts in the right column on third paragraph from the bottom. It says the township should consider the development of a new mixed-use zoning district to address this master plan designation of mixed-use south, but don't we, I thought we had we have an overlay down there. So I don't know what's going on there.
You mean at Northfield Trail?
Yeah,
We are in the process of,
I mean, it's okay to change it, but,
yeah, we haven't removed it, but we're in the process of discussing it, the
Okay.
overlay district.
Okay.
But using the standards in the district throughout, so.
okay. So do you want to say amend or modify?
We could say amend or modify, sure.
Okay. 'Cause
Yeah,
there is
I had
one.
that highlighted as well.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I've got all my questions, except for typos, answered, I think. Yeah. Does anybody else have anything more? No? Okay. No? Okay. So we have this wonderful resolution here that we'll do next time. I guess I would like to make a motion to have Mr. Lippens make the necessary changes that the board identified tonight and provide us a clean copy at our next meeting. Is that okay?
Sounds good.
Okay. So motion by Chalkley, support by Chick. Any more discussion? All in,
Question on the motion. Just to reiterate that it was specified earlier that part of that would include typo markup from the supervisor.
Yeah.
Just so
Okay.
everyone is clear that we'll get that information.
okay. So
I planned
we'll add
on
on.
sending you my stuff too.
You're going to send them your stuff? Okay, good. That's all fine with me. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. I think we made good progress. I think it's a good document. You know, it always takes a lot of work when you're dealing with something like this.
It does.
Yeah, so I didn't thank the planning commission members and the public for putting it together, and you, Mr. Lippens, thank you. Overall, I agree, it's a good document. It reads nicely, so thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, next. Would you like to do this one, Ms. Selnok?
Certainly. I'd like to make a motion to authorize the treasurer to sign the Treasury Management Service Master Agreement and the Positive Pay Service Agreement with the First National Bank in Howe at a cost of $30 per month for a total of $360 per year for the Positive Pay service for the Township's 7 banks accounts.
I'll support.
Motion by Ms. Zelnok, support by Ms. Chick. Any discussion on this one? Ms. Bellinger?
Will this affect the payroll for any employees of the township in any way? In other words, some employees receive a check, a physical check, as opposed to direct deposit. Was this going to affect that?
So what would happen is we would send the payroll the check number and the amount to the bank, and when they went to cash it, they would verify that it was a valid check that the township written, and they would process it. So no, the answer is it should.
I need a little better, I need a little better explanation.
So what happens is any check that's written, their file will be sent to the bank with the check number and the amount. When they go process it, they check to make sure it's on the file, and if it is, it's seamless, no issue. If they get to a check number that isn't on the file, or an amount that isn't, they would call Ms. Carlisle, who processes our payables, and verify that it should be processed.
Oh, well, I get a check from this company,
Pardon me?
and I go to my bank and cash it.
You're fine.
I have no problem with that.
You should have no problem.
How about if I would deposit it?
No issues.
Okay.
Should be all set.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Ms. Manley, did you have something, or?
Do they have a backup person that they're gonna call? In case Jennifer's not
I
here?
I couldn't understand, what'd you say?
Do they have a backup person?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to assign somebody.
Okay.
I
Just
mean,
thought about that, if they call on a Friday or something.
Yeah, it could be. We'll have to assign. Well, maybe we'll talk to the auditors on that to see, because we receive it, so we don't work with payables from a township treasurer perspective.
Yeah, I don't know who else
So
has
maybe it would be
access.
your department. Maybe it would be someone in the clerk's department.
Just somebody as a backup.
Yeah, can do that.
Just a thought.
Ms. Bellinger?
How is this different than what we are currently doing?
Right now, we just, if someone were to get a hold of a check and process it and write it, then it's just added protection that we would cash it. We may not, I mean, the bank may not. So if this is not on the file that we send to them, they will not cash it.
And is this an additional charge of 30 per month above what we currently pay then?
We have
for
no
the
fees right
services?
now.
We have no fees at all.
So this is a $30 per month, a total of $360.
Can I ask another question of approximately how many checks a month on average do we write?
Oh,
Because I thought most is
Well,
quite a few
yeah.
checks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you saw the open and the
Yeah.
paid bills today.
Ms.
And
Carlisle
this was a small, kind of a small month, actually.
Right.
No, I
Ms.
mean-
Carlo did over 100 checks the other
Okay, I
day.
mean versus direct deposit, that's what I'm,
Oh, direct deposit.
because we're
No-
talking about checks here, correct?
Checks
Physical
for bills.
Yeah,
Instruments?
checks for
Oh,
bills.
So we basically, we pay all our vendors through checks,
Okay, thank you.
and some of our employees, township officials,
Yep.
and an employee.
Oh, okay. So, any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
That passes 7-0.
We'll sleep better at night.
Okay.
Thank you.
We are moving on to the marijuana stuff.
Okay, good. Maybe we can wrap that up too.
Okay.
Ms. Chick has it.
Go ahead, Ms. Chick.
I just want to thank Mr. Lippens for his memorandum from October 1st and listing all of the changes, made it very clear. I really appreciate that, so we don't have to hunt things down, so thank you.
I agree with that. So thank you, Mr. Lippens, and I think this is a good policy, just not only for the planner, but for anyone bringing information to us. So.
All right. So, this is a clean copy. Do we
Someone
have
gave it
any?
to the township.
Well, I have a
Someone gave that money to the
question
township
about page.
and told them to give it to the community center.
Yep, 1966,
Someone
yes.
gave it to the township to be allocated to the community center. Sorry about that.
Okay. On page 9, when we get down to number 9,
Which one are we on?
we're on 19-66.
Thank you. Page 9.
It says, in the AR district, the minimum lot size for medical Class B, recreational Class B, medical Class C, and recreational Class C growers shall be 10 acres. The board voted not to allow medical B or C or
Right.
recreational C.
In the ag
So
area.
should that be removed? Yes, okay.
What page, please, are you on?
Page
Page
9.
Nine.
Nine,
Okay.
number 9.
Yeah.
And it was medical class B, right?
Yes.
Should we include another number after 9 to include those two in the industrial?
Well, they're just talking about minimum lot sizes, so
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, that's all I had in this ordinance.
And, oops.
Were the hours 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. on page 9, number 10? Does,
Hours of operation.
was it that late, 9 p.m., or was it 7 p.m.?
It was 9. I still think there's a conflict between this one and 67.
Well, yeah, there might be.
I wrote it
still.
out.
Which one, 66? No, I thought it was all. It's all. It's medical and recreational.
So this is indicating that kind of like they're selling the product to a consumer, retail provisioning centers and micro businesses. These are the hours.
Right.
And then when you go to the other ordinance, it's not specific. It just says sales and distribution. And that says you cannot be in operation, or it's from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Is that what it, I can't remember, page 11.
Yeah, it's almost the opposite of what you can't do.
Right. Did I miss that? I missed that. Page 9, rather. It's on page 9, I think.
It's closed during those hours.
Yep.
Right.
We talked that to death at the last meeting.
We did.
And we decided to move on.
I know.
After
Well, we're still
30
awake.
minutes.
We're more awake now, and it's not 11:10. It's only, so.
It's gonna be.
Yeah, so, I mean, if I was someone that was selling the product, and I had this, that one says you can do it from, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., but then I have something else that says you can open up at 7 a.m., I would test the waters and say, I'm opening my sales shop up at 7 a.m. if I so think that my customers will be there. And my concern is a conflict, they could do it.
Then
And
let's
if that's
change
what we're okay with, we're okay with it.
Then you want to change the other one from 9 to 9? Or change the 7 to 9?
I'm just, it says, that's what I would do. It says you can't do anything from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. However, I get it. If I'm running a business, I probably want to start earlier.
And you're going to test the waters.
Yeah, but no, I mean, just even for distribution and sales and process and have workers come in, I want them to come in at 7 a.m. So that's my only thought, is go from it. You're right, Mr. Rackett, we did talk it to death, so.
We did. Ms. Bellinger?
Can't we take this back up after the election? Even no matter which way the election goes, the ordinance will need to be revisited with regards to considering different precincts votes. That should be something that should be considered with regards to permitting of potential establishments in various precincts or not, if we want to actually pay attention to the outcome of, and the voice of the people, literally, on this issue of establishments of businesses in the township. I think that it would be wise to revisit this when we receive more data from the voters. November 5th.
Ms. Chick?
Our attorney, who we call our expert, advised that we do this before the vote. So I think we should follow that advice at this point.
We're
And
this far
and as
along.
far as zoning, depending on where how the precincts voted, that would be an impossible task for zoning.
So,
Other communities have done it.
yeah,
The question is, did our attorney say that we needed to have this ordinance? I do not believe that was the case.
You said the ordinance needed to be done before the
We
vote?
have
It
an
needed
ordinance
to be
currently.
done.
We have an
Suggested it.
ordinance, because we do need to notify Laura by November 1st, and we do have an ordinance right now.
He did recommend that we have an ordinance in place before the election.
Do we not have one currently?
He specifically said this ordinance.
Yes.
It would be good to ask him.
yeah,
We did. We asked him twice.
What was his
We
reasoning?
got the
though?
same
Do you
thing.
This
know?
specific-
Just to be prepared. And it
Oh.
goes back to if it passes, then we shelve it. If it doesn't pass, then we already have it. And at the next board meeting, we just determine at that point to opt in, opt out, and move with the.
So we're off topic, and our
Is there anyone that
agenda
could
item
speak
is
to
to
that?
discuss this
Yeah.
ordinance.
Right,
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah.
And
Can you
I
bring us back on
have a
topic?
short time.
Yes.
Is
Oh,
there
yeah,
anyone that can,
left. Yeah.
Can you
is
bring
the
us
attorney's
back?
representative, can he speak to this at all, or does he know?
Can we just, are there any other changes, Madam Chair? Can we just?
I was at the meeting where that was discussed, and I do believe that was Mr. Burns' opinion. At this point, I don't have any reason to say otherwise.
Okay, the opinion is we should move forward as if we're opting in.
That is Mr. Burns' opinion, is moving forward, being proactive with the ordinance, just as was summarized here. And if you end up opting out, you shelve it. If not, you move forward with it. It's just that my understanding is this is just a proactive writing of the ordinance and considering of the ordinance to save time in the back end, should it be needed.
Thank you.
Okay, so this ordinance here, if we,
Another question regarding the ordinance itself.
okay.
Item on page 9, item number 7. Do we also have a 1,000-foot radius around daycare centers and library and parks and other such establishments of that nature? I'm on page 9, item number 7.
Yeah.
That is something that's not required by the state.
Right.
But it's something the township board approved.
Yeah, but I've seen that elsewhere.
The
Oh,
board
okay,
approved
here it
that we
is.
have the buffer zone around library, daycare centers, and places of worship, along with the school.
It's been changed since then, or at least we've discussed change since then, and that's what's brought up the correspondence from Shelley Edgerton regarding the buffer zones, because we do have 1,000 feet in here, but at the last meeting, we discussed a 500-foot buffer from schools only, and thank you, Ms. Belger, because I was actually going to bring that up as well.
Who
So
is
we
Shelley
need-
Edgerton?
You got the letter, correct?
Whom is she?
She's an attorney, but she was with Laura before she went into practice with Dykema.
Oh, yeah, she came and talked to us, didn't she?
Yeah, right.
So she's a marijuana business attorney?
She is citing state regulations. And she listed.
So we don't have any choice as regarding the buffer
We have a
zones?
choice,
Oh,
any kind of a choice on the buffer, but basically it can be 100 feet, it can be 250, it can be whatever, so.
Okay, well, I believe the
According to the
board voted at 1,000 foot, and I
Right.
believe it was also to be extended around daycare centers, libraries, and places of worship.
That's at the top of page 7, number 1.
So that's home care, isn't it?
Is that just for medical marijuana?
That's home.
Should be for all,
Care.
was what we agreed.
Yeah.
That one is
Caregiver.
caregivers.
Yep. So it's more stringent for caregivers than it is for
That is
the
the
business.
state.
It is.
They're unregulated and unmonitored.
That's true.
Yep.
According to the state, they recommend 1,000 feet for caregivers. 100, yep.
Yep, but anything else, you can set the buffer, whatever you want.
And on the recreational and everything, they can, yep, Ms. Chick.
Well, this board already had the buffer set for 1,000 feet around buffer libraries and daycare, and church, places of worship and schools. So I
But a
believe that
motion
should
was
be in
made
here.
at the last meeting to change it to 500, but we're waiting for information on whether or not we could change it or not.
And we can,
We can.
if we wanted to, but
We didn't move
if
on
you,
it
if
until
you
discussed
make
it.
the if buffer smaller, then you have more
Yeah.
businesses.
Well, the question is, well, how did it get dropped on page 9, item number 7, the other aspects? I mean,
Because 7.1
so-
is a state requirement.
Right, but didn't we change that? Didn't we add to it?
yeah, we did. We added at our own, as a township should have the ability to do, to add those other establishments to be buffered.
So at this point, I mean,
Yeah,
obviously,
it's
Madam Chair.
Semantics. I mean,
Can you-
it's not going into effect.
So, obviously, we're a split board on 4 to 3.
Yeah.
Are people comfortable that are the 4 votes as is, or is there any changes that need to be done? That is my request to you, Madam Chair.
I'm,
Other than
just-
9.9,
yeah.
Pardon me?
What's wrong with 9.9?
I said 9.9. Page
Yes,
9.9.
correct, right.
Other than that,
Okay.
Updating that one.
Right.
Well, do we need to
I
move
think it's-
to extend the 1,000-foot radius back to where we had it? I mean, we shouldn't have to
It is.
re-vote on this if we already had this.
it is 1,000.
It's at 1,000.
Yes, but it's 1,000 feet also to include the places of worship, childcare facilities, and
For caregivers, yes.
and library.
You could probably make the motion, but it'll probably get voted down.
It is that way for caregivers.
We're
I'm
not talking
talking about the
caregivers.
marijuana
We're talking
facilities in
about number-
general.
No.
It was for all of
Oh,
the.
you can make a motion.
Can make a motion, Madam Chair, and then we can move on.
Feel free. Yeah. What? Oh, am I supposed to?
Do you want to make a
No,
motion?
I'm just like, you can call for a motion.
I
so
move
we
to,
can-
Yeah.
move to include in the 1,000-foot radius buffer, we have schools, childcare facilities, places of worship, and libraries. This is regarding any marijuana businesses or establishments in the township.
I'll support.
Okay, so we have a motion by Ms. Bellinger and support by Ms. Manley. I guess we'll need a roll call on this one.
Any discussion?
I just want to note, discussion. Ms. Chick gave us this article, that's medical marijuana, from Grand Rapids, and
Did you or Paul, Mr. Lippens, or was it Ms. Chick?
I sent it to Mr. Lippens, he sent it out.
Okay.
Okay. But I was impressed with how careful they are to
Are
make
we talking
sure-
about medical marijuana here? Are we voting on medical marijuana?
What?
No, it's recreational.
I don't believe we are.
Right, but
Well,
I
let's
was...
get with the vote.
I was impressed with how careful they are to make sure that they're spaced out and that they get the buy-in of the community where they're going to be. So
We're
I thought
not
that was very
talking about
interesting.
medical marijuana now.
Well, it's the same thing.
Falls into
No,
the
it's
same
not the
category.
It is, okay, so we have a motion, and I guess we can do a roll call.
So Manley, yes. Chick?
No.
Zelenak?
No.
Docket?
No.
Otto?
No.
Bellinger?
Yes.
Chockley?
Yes. Okay. Now, we have an ordinance here. It's not going to go into effect. What do we do with it? Put it on the shelf
We
for
still have to make
after?
Yeah, we have to make a motion to accept it with the change.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
We didn't vote
We
on
can't
this.
accept it. We can only
Can't
shelf
post the
it.
ordinance.
Yeah.
We didn't vote on this.
No, we did not vote on that yet.
No, we haven't.
Okay.
So I guess I would just let me say this. I'll just make a motion to declare ordinance 1966 completed to be used at the time if the
If needed.
referendum fails.
Support.
Does that make sense?
It means
Say
it's
that
on the
again.
shelf and can be used when
Shelving
needed.
it until.
Yeah, I'll
the motion.
make a motion to
No, I can shelf it to the 12th.
declare the ordinance completed, 1966 completed, until it's needed if the referendum fails.
You can still vote on it November
Are you
12th.
making, because I
Oh, you
still
can still
have a
vote on
motion to
November
make a
12th.
change.
Oh, you have another change?
Yeah,
To this one? Oh, okay,
okay.
okay.
All right, so, because there's such a big concern about oversaturation of businesses in the downtown area, but people have to keep in mind that recreational and medical will be allowed south of North Territorial all the way up to 8 Mile, that if we make the facilities too close together, that, a couple of things. Number one, it doesn't do any of the businesses any good because they're too close together and it's not good business, period. The other issue is we can spread them out a little farther. So my motion is to create a 500-foot buffer from schools and a 1,000-foot buffer between facilities, medical and or recreational.
I think we already have the 1,000
We
in
already
there
have the
for
1,000.
number 8.
Yeah, 1,000's already there.
Okay, from between the between
Facilities.
facilities, okay. So a 500-foot buffer from the schools as opposed to a 1,000-foot.
Is there a second for Ms. Chick's motion?
I'll second it.
Okay. So we have discussion. Yeah, we have a second by Ms. Zelnok. Ms. Chick is asking for a 500-foot buffer between schools and marijuana establishments.
No.
No?
500
Wrong?
between schools, and we already have a 1,000-foot buffer between establishments.
Right.
Okay.
Between schools and establishments.
Yes.
You have 500.
Right.
Okay, I got that right. Okay, Ms.
No, that was very confusing.
Yeah.
Can you please restate your motion?
Okay,
So
so
say
we'll leave the establishments out because that's already at 1,000
Changing
feet.
number 7.
Just changing number 7 to establish a 500-foot buffer from schools.
Okay.
Got it. That's the easy way to do it.
Okay. And Ms. Manley has a,
So it was brought up last meeting that according to the school bylaws, it's a 1,000-foot buffer. So did we ever get any clarification on what trumps what, like whose rules? So if the school wants it 1,000, can we override that and say, no, 500, too bad?
It's under the Marijuana Act.
Yeah.
I think that question was answered by Mr. Burns at the last meeting. And these are your rules. The school bylaws are not, it's not zoning, so.
So we're just totally disregarding the rules.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
okay. All right, so we have a motion. Call the question? Roll call.
Docket.
He wants to hear it again.
Oh. Wanted to change number 7 from a 1,000-foot buffer from a school to a 500-foot buffer from a school.
Yes.
Okay.
Chick.
Yes?
Chockley.
No.
Otto.
Yes.
Manley. No. Zelenak.
Yes.
Bellinger.
No.
Okay, that fails.
No,
Oh, it passed? Did you
I think
say
that
yes?
passed.
I said yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Passes.
I'm
Is that
sorry.
right? It passed,
I guess
correct?
it passed.
4-3, our typical votes. Late, I know, it's getting late.
That's right. And, okay. So I will make a motion to approve ordinance numbers 1966 as we have determined its content tonight to be used if the referendum fails.
Is that the proper language? Do you want to say that?
Why don't we just discuss it again at the November 12th meeting?
We can do this again at the
I would
next.
just
approve the ordinance.
I
We have to approve the
I
ordinance.
would just say
Yeah.
that it's tabled until December 12th.
All right.
meeting.
Just keep it simple.
All
I
right.
agree.
All right.
Simple.
I'll
Simple's
table
good.
it to what?
December 12th.
December, November 12th.
November, sorry. November 12th. Oh, gosh.
November 12th, okay.
Yeah.
All
November
right.
12th meeting. Table it until November 12th.
Table till November 12th.
Support.
And then we'll know.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Discussion.
Thank you.
Get out and vote.
Oh.
November 5th.
Exactly.
Go vote.
Okay. Now we have the ordinance 1967 for permitting.
Do we need to remove some of these licenses from these lists? On page 3
Page 3.
and page 5? Maybe 6?
I don't know.
That's a separate question.
Yeah, that's, page 3 is just definitions.
Okay.
Page 5 are authorized, marijuana facilities authorized. I don't see numbers there.
Page
There we
5
are.
is numbers.
Yep, at the bottom of page 5, we have numbers.
Yeah, middle of page 5. Was that?
No, the bottom of page 5.
No, I'm referring to the types of licenses.
Oh,
As I believe we're beyond the definitions portion, and this is what's permitted? Or you just want to say the numbers that are permitted, drop that to 0 or something, or applicable? Because did we not remove, what's it, Class B in some locations and C?
but they're still allowed in the limited industrial,
I didn't change the number.
Okay.
yeah. So, down at the bottom of that page, we have 6 permits for medical and 6 permits for recreational. And it doesn't matter what class it is for medical or recreational. That's my understanding.
Correct.
Okay. So, and then processor facilities 3, secure transporters 3, safety compliance facilities 3, retail facilities 3, provisioning center facilities 3, and micro business facilities 3. That's my understanding of what we had approved at the last time we dealt with this. Ms. Manley?
What about the new categories that they added in the emergency rules? I don't have it with me, but basically
There's 4 new ones.
social establishments or whatever you want to call them. I think there was 2 new categories. We haven't even mentioned that, so.
Yeah, designated consumption establishment
Right.
license, excess marijuana grower license.
And
marijuana
party
event
permits.
Yeah, so if we don't,
organization.
so if we don't have that in our ordinance, can they come or can they not come, or is it a free-for-all, or?
They can, I offer an opinion on that, after the emergency rules were passed. If the township were to add those uses, that would have to be taken up by planning commission, because obviously that happened after the ordinance was referred to the board. So it is my opinion, and you should ask the attorney as well for an opinion, but that those are not authorized uses, because they're not specifically defined in our ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
So I think we need to ask our attorney to take that and come back with us to ensure and to confirm what Mr. Lippens has said. That, I don't know if we need a motion that we have the attorney confirm that if it isn't the new 4 licenses, if they are not in our ordinances, they are then prohibited in the township until the planning commission, or until we direct,
So we do something?
till the township board directs the planning commission.
I would just say, I do think we're revisiting this. I think that we've already discussed it, and Mr. Burns has been at those meetings as well. I think we should verify it.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
So usually we've been told that if we don't make a motion, the attorney can't look at anything. So I just want to make sure that we're following procedures.
Okay.
I agree, we need the attorney confirm that these don't automatically become something we have to permit because we didn't say we do not wish to have them.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion by Ms. Zelnok and support by Ms. Bellinger to have our attorney give us an answer on those 4 uses.
The emergency rules.
Could somebody be a little bit more specific in the language of a motion?
Okay.
So, yeah, I just make a motion that we want our attorney to verify that since the additional 4 usage is not in our ordinances, that they will not be allowed in the township at this time. Yep.
You got support, right?
Yeah, Ms.
Bellinger.
Bellinger. Okay, Mr. Dockett.
Why can't we pass this and say
And come
if,
back to it.
Where was it
say if something's wrong
We
with
can.
Yeah, we can. Again, I think we'll table it until November 12th, like we did the last one.
I don't want to do that.
Because I think, again, if you pass it, then you got 30 days, and then it's implemented, and I don't think we want to do that.
Okay.
So there's a motion, Madam
Okay,
Chair.
yes, there's a motion. Any more discussion?
I'm sorry, that was Zelenak and...
Zelnok and
Bellinger.
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 Yeah.
Just have the attorney confirm that, the status of those new emergency rules.
All in favor, say aye.
Wait.
Any?
I'm confused. What are we doing?
We're just looking for clarification from the attorney. Because
So we're not, what are we doing? Tabling
that's
this?
something separate.
We're
We
not
haven't
there
done
yet.
that
We're
yet.
not there
That's
yet.
separate.
We didn't get to that one yet.
I interrupted it.
Right now, we're voting to have the attorney look at the emergency rule issue of the 4 different, the new rules that came out that are not in our ordinance, to confirm that they shouldn't be in our ordinance, or will they end up being in there, I guess. I don't know. We're having the attorney review something, this is all at this point.
Okay. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Oh, I want a roll call vote.
Okay.
Manley, yes. Otto?
Yes.
Chick?
Yes.
Chockley?
Yes.
Bellinger?
Yes.
Zelenak?
Yes.
Docket?
No.
Okay. That passes 6-0. 6-1. Sorry, Mr. Dockett. All right, I'd like to make a motion to table ordinance number 1967 until November 12th.
Ms. Chick has
Oh,
one.
Yeah, I had
another
a
change?
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. All right, when we met last time, there was a discussion about the 3 micro businesses, and there was a motion to only have them in areas that were on paved roads, and that failed. So I have a second motion, or another motion, that micro businesses, if we can do this, Mr. Lippens, if it's appropriate, 1 in the general industrial, 1 in the limited industrial, and 1 in the ag.
That would
Can we
actually
split
have to
them
go
up that
on
way?
66.
That would be,
It sounds like zoning to me.
That's actually in the ordinance 66.
Yeah.
We'd have to revisit that one.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one.
We missed it.
I missed it. Okay, we'll
We'll
go
bring it
on
up
the
again.
November 12th.
We'll beat it to death again.
I'm sure we'll hear about it again.
Don't forget.
Hopefully
Okay.
not, but-
All right, so motion to table till November 12th. Did I get a second?
Support.
Okay, motion by Chalkley, support by Bellinger. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes 7-0.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can we open up, I would like to revisit 19-66 and accept Ms. Chick's motion so that we have it all done.
Okay, thank you.
Would that be okay?
Yes.
We might as well wrap it.
Which one is it? Which page is it?
It's ordinance 19-66, so it would impact a few pages.
Oh,
It,
Since we're here, so.
I don't know where micro businesses are.
Do we actually have to vote to revisit this? We have to
Um,
approve revisiting it?
I'd make a motion that we
Starts
do
on
revisit.
page-
It'll pass anyways.
We might as well get it as best as we can,
Yeah, it starts on page 4.
so that when we come back, it's pretty much a done deal. It starts on page, what one is that?
4.
Page 4, right?
Yeah, so we had it already
It is
in
in there,
the
okay.
general industrial district.
But we don't have, and we don't have.
We
one
have it
ag.
in the limited industrial district.
But it's not in the ag.
But it's not in the
And
ag.
I think the
So one
question,
in each.
Mr. Lippens, was we'd like one in each district.
Can you do that?
We'd like one in limited,
spot
one in
zone?
general, and one in
Spell
micro.
it out.
So I don't recommend that you limit licenses by district. They're separate issues. So you should issue a number of permits, and then you should control where you like those uses to be. And I think those are two separate issues. And this is personally why I think it's good to have a permit regulation for the number of permits you want, and also zoning regulations that controls the time, place, and manner of uses within specific zoning districts. So I would think that if you thought it was appropriate to permit micro businesses in the AR district, that you would make that motion.
That already failed, though.
So the question really is maybe we haven't seen one, we don't know what they're like. That, it could be that all three end up in the ag, and maybe that would not necessarily be. So you don't recommend we do one in one then?
No, I mean, you could propose, other standards to limit the number of micro businesses in the AR district that were not discussed.
Could you give that some thought then? I mean, I don't know, you said we could come up with some other standard? Not sure.
So I would not recommend a motion that says permit one micro business in the AR district, right?
Right.
Because that is not really a time, place, and manner standard, right? But you could say, for instance, in the AR district, have a 1 mile buffer between micro businesses in the AR district, to limit, essentially how close they could be to other types of uses. I don't know whether or not a mile would be too
big.
far, or make it so that you couldn't cite one, right?
Right.
The other thing that was considered at the last meeting was only on paved roads.
Right, right.
Rather than saying only on paved roads, you could do one that was, only, say, within a half mile of US 23, or within, AR within a mile of US 23, which is a locational control that we can check and implement.
Okay.
So I'm trying to kind of advise, I guess the question is, what is the intent of saying only one in the AR district? And if it's to control the, where the siting of a micro business is, and to make that more consistent with the board's guidance for citing locations, then we should think about, what is the actual effect? If the effect is to control those and to provide more guidance in citing, then we should provide guidance
Got it.
in citing.
All right, thanks. I think we're good for now then.
I think we're good.
We're good. Moving
Yep.
on.
Yep.
Can I? Just for my knowledge, and I know I asked you or sent an email, is there a reason why we wouldn't allow, since we're allowing processors and grows in the light industrial and the general industrial, why we wouldn't include the RTM, which is huge? We have so much room and unused space in the RTM. I
know it sounds kind of weird, but to me, they kind of work together.
I think that the board made a recommendation to remove them from the RTM. It's hard for me to remember all of the motions that happened, but I believe that Planning Commission did include those facilities in the RTM.
Really? What kind of
The
what
grow
is-
facilities.
In the
Because they're so
RTM?
big and we moved them to general industrial and light industrial,
Right.
those areas are so small.
Right.
The RTM is huge
huge.
and there's all kinds of space there.
Well,
I don't think it ever came from the planning commission
But-
with the RTM district.
Research, technology, manufacturing, I mean, it has a specific
But they be working
intent.
together with safety compliance and process, it's almost like it would go
That
together.
makes sense, yeah.
Like
Well-
manufacturing.
We're hoping to expand the general industrial and the light
They haven't been
industrial.
doing anything, well, but we haven't.
I mean, I can
We
quickly
will.
look at my old drafts
Okay,
to
okay.
see.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. All right, so we are done with that. I guess the motion passed to
Table it.
table. Okay. Moving on to liaison trustee reports.
So where does the pre-application questionnaire fit in?
Oh, well, that's true, we're going to do that. And we don't have any scoring.
So I do have a couple comments on it. So on page 1, I always like commas between
You're on
my
the
numbers.
scoring, right?
No, I'm on pre-application questionnaire. So you have 5,000 there. I would like to have a comma. I know we're talking after the 1,000. On page 1. I think it should be, yeah, it should be a comma. That one I don't know if that's. And then when we get to page 3, again, you have 5,000 without a comma, again. But then when we get to the thing, we have adult use recreational retail, and then underneath we have retail. Aren't they the same? If we're on the page 3 on the type of permit request?
I'm lost.
So let's go to page 3.
Go to page 3.
Under type of permit request.
On the right-hand side there.
On the, we have adult use recreational retail, and on the third line, again, we have retail
Yeah.
and provisioning center.
Seems like redundant.
So
Yeah.
I don't know, I would thought it would be adult use recreational retail, and then we wouldn't have retail. I'm not sure what the adult use recreational and how that differs than retail.
Yep, she's right.
Yeah, so just a general comment on this. This is an administrative form. We
Right.
do not need to go through this in the same detail that we do the
Okay.
ordinance.
All right.
I think that if the board would just direct me to work on this with the manager and the clerk, we can tidy this up. I mean, really what we want is an application that suits the needs and provides the information that we need to evaluate the facilities. I think general discussion on the scoring process, that type of guidance we need.
So
and,
do you
know,
want me to make a motion that the township manager and the clerk department work with the planner on the pre-application questionnaire?
I'll support.
And the application?
Maybe the building department, not clerk's department, really.
That's a good one, yep.
The building department? Okay, so I'll take that friendly amendment and say, direct the township manager and the building department to work with the township planner on the pre-application questionnaire, as well as on the township, the marijuana facility permit application.
Okay, so we had a motion by Ms. Zelnok and support by Ms. Ms. Chick. Okay, any more discussion? Ms. Ballinger?
This is not I'm asking a question. You are not referring to the scoring criteria?
No,
Or you
we
are?
don't.
You're
No.
not? Okay, thank you.
I'm just referring to the
Application.
pre-application and the application.
Thank you.
Ms. Chick?
Nope, I'm sorry, we have to vote, right?
Oh,
No, we gotta, did you second? Who
She
seconded?
Chick
Seconded, yeah.
seconded. Okay. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that passes 5-0. Okay. We don't have the scoring criteria stuff with us tonight.
No, actually, I would like to, I know we asked for a lot of more options than what we had gotten last time. Ann Arbor actually just released some today on their scoring, and it looked really interesting. There wasn't that big, but the points were huge. So I think we could probably look at theirs and other communities as well.
I have the scoring here from the previous meeting,
Yeah.
and there's definitely some things that needed to be pointed out. I thought it was kind of redundant to have things in here as scoring that already have to be done. Why should someone receive credit for doing what they have to do?
So we're not going to deal with that tonight.
Okay.
We don't have it, so, anyway, all right.
Who's going to, what's going to be the process to work on that?
The scoring criteria?
Yes.
I wouldn't mind waiting until the vote's done.
What was helpful just in the application process, I got guidance on which of the models that we were looking at was most suitable to move forward with. So, you know, if the Ann Arbor one or the Grand Rapids one is better than the draft that we put together, we would just try to you know, move in that direction, do a draft 2 and use the model that the board liked.
Well, why don't you email them to everybody and get some feedback offline? I mean, right?
Or we could give Mr. Lippens to look at all of them and come up with his recommendation, at least a couple,
That's
and then
okay
bring
with
them
me.
back.
Is that a motion, Ms. Chick?
Yeah. Okay, I'll make a motion to direct Mr. Lippens to bring back, to investigate scoring criteria, options from other communities, and choose 2 to bring back to the board.
I'll support.
Okay, motion by Ms. Chick, support by Ms. Zelnok.
I have a comment. I
Go
think
ahead.
this should be done after the vote, when we can then maybe need to expend more resources at that point, possibly.
Yeah, that's a valid point.
Well, can I put a timeline on it of the first meeting in November?
I think it's got to be ready to go if everything else is ready to go.
Everything's got to be ready to go, yep.
I'm just saying it takes some time to do that. That's the point, which is money.
Yeah.
Because our next meeting, we're going to be really, really busy, so it would have to be the following meeting.
We're going to be really, really busy through the end of the year.
That's why we
The
need to get it
scoring
done.
criteria shouldn't
Go
take
out and
a lot
vote,
of
November
time.
5th.
All right.
I guess I want to say to
So where are we? We have a motion on the floor.
Yeah, Ms. Chick made
Okay.
it and Ms. Zelnok seconded.
So,
Okay.
and Mr. Lippens had some comments.
Yeah, just in terms of setting a deadline, the board does have a number of things that they're working on, and you know, this is an application process. Even when the ordinance comes into effect,
It'll take time.
you know, we've got a little bit of
Yeah,
time to
time.
work this out.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Do we withdraw the motion? Are we voting on it?
No, let's vote
Let's
on
vote
it.
on
Okay.
You
I'll-
withdrew it? Or you said yes?
I would prefer that we just vote on it without a deadline, and he'll bring it back to us when we
Okay.
can.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I think a roll call.
Okay, roll call.
Chick?
Yes.
Manley? Yes. Chockley?
Hello?
Yes.
Zelenak?
Yes.
Bellinger?
No.
Okay, that passed 4-0. All right, next items are the trustee liaison reports. And we can just make a motion to accept them all.
I move to accept the trustee liaison reports as provided in the packet.
Motion by Bellinger, support by Chick. Any discussion? Okay, my discussion is just pay attention to the comment on the board priorities that I have at the bottom of my report. And we have like multiple more items to add to this huge list. So I'm going to try to prioritize these for the next meetings. coming up, but we really have to get through some of this stuff. So if you want to give me feedback on what you think is most important, then that would be helpful. Okay. So we have the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that passed 4-0. Okay. Next item is
Call to the public.
second call to the public. You brave souls that have stayed this whole evening. We have three. Anybody who would like to come up to speak, please take up to 3 minutes, and you can address the board. Please state your name, your address, and speak right into the microphone.
Mary Devlin, 9211 Brookside Drive. When the pro-marijuana business people get up to speak at call to the public, they defeat their purpose by attacking Tawn or any other board member in a nasty, negative way, as well as the vulgar things that they are putting on social media. Tawn has done a lot of things to help our township. She's a decent person and also a Christian. And also believing that the no vote people are not stealing the yes vote signs is very naive. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
Stan Woodka, 5985 Leland Drive. I would like to agree with the person that spoke earlier at the first call to public about the August 12th meeting. And he thinks I said it about 3 or 4 different times since then, and I wasn't going to say anything because I said it once, but he brought it up, so I'm going to bring it up again. I was appalled at what happened at that August 12th meeting, where it should have been a procedural meeting by this board and its members and just been a 20-minute meeting to pass to protect the interest of the public. But no, the marijuana 4, or 2 of the 4, had a hissy fit and dragged it out and called their puppets out to come protest, take all types of time when it should have been a fast meeting, procedural meeting. Do your job as a trustee, do what's best interest, and that's what the lawyer had to look at and approved. Because guess what? If it wouldn't have gotten approved, we would have sued. And guess what that would have entailed? That would have entailed an injunction, and we would have told the employers to the lawyers and attorneys to drag it out where it would be tied up for 4 or 5 years in the courts. But no, certain members of this board had to drag it out and get everybody all riled up, which just should have been a simple procedural meeting. Now, Mr. Ward Burton, maybe I shouldn't have said his name, but he said it, that he was going to the other side of the fence. I wasn't going to bring it, but I'm here saying I was upset too. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, be careful. Thank you.
George Brown, 7800 block of Shady Beach. I guess you know my name. I wasn't going to speak, but I was to a Lincoln Club meeting. I thought, well, I'll just stop by here and see what's going on. And I'm kind of discouraged over some of the things. Now, I wanted to let you know where I stand. I'm 100% yes to opt out, 100% behind it, and I'm working very hard to make sure that we do not have any dispensaries here. It's the worst thing that could ever happen to our community. You speaking of not growing, will anybody want to come here where we have dispensaries on almost every corner and so on like that? I don't think so. I think you're making a big mistake. Everybody, in the morning we meet at McDonald's, a bunch of us seniors. And they said, they haven't seen you for a while. I said, I'm working very hard to get the yes vote out to make sure we don't have those dispensaries. They start laughing at me. Most of them are graduates from Whitmore Lake High School, but have moved out. He said, George, you'll never ever change Northfield Township. I said, yes, I will. He says, it won't happen. We live there, we moved out, and it'll never change. But as Bill Close told me one time, you have the same old thing, but just different faces. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to hurt us 100. If we have dispensaries, you speak of not anybody moving in, that's the quickest way of doing it. And I'm telling you what, I'm just kind of disappointed in the board a little bit by not opting out and making us have to go through an expensive election to get opt-out and so on like that. You should have stood up, every one of you should have stood up and said, we don't want marijuana in our, we're going to opt out. It would have saved us a lot of expense on an election that we don't need, that you people could have stepped up and says, let's opt out like all the other communities did. I'm very disappointed. And Janet, I'm not on social media, but I consider you a close friend, but some of the things I hear on social media, I'm very unhappy with you, and I'm disappointed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak? Okay, seeing no one, we'll move to board member comments. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share at this time? Ms. Bellinger?
I just want to thank those in the community that come out to the meeting, and want a special thanks to those that sincerely care for the community. And I wish everybody a wonderful week.
Thank you. Ms. Manley?
Just once again, get out and vote, and if you're interested in working, please contact us. Thank you.
Ms. Chick?
Mr. Brown, I appreciate that. I consider you a close friend as well. If you have seen something or heard something that people are saying, I'm saying I've never attacked anyone on social media. I've supported cannabis businesses, but I have not attacked anybody. But if you have heard anything or seen anything, let me know. I will explain it to you if I did, but I don't recall that I did. I apologize if I've offended you, because I don't ever mean to do that. I've known you for a long time. But I will say that it goes both ways, too. I mean, the people that have been supporting cannabis businesses have also been called pot-worshipping haters. We've been called fools on the board. So, you know, it goes both ways. We're not the only ones. I try not to pay attention to it because I know where it comes from. But it's a contentious subject. It's conflicting. Everybody's got their view on it. And like Ms. Zelenak said, on November 5th, we'll know exactly how the township feels about it. So appreciate your comments. I appreciate everybody's comments. Thank you.
Ms. Zelenak?
Sure. Again, you know, we need to respect each other. You know, even if we don't agree with each other, we still need to have respect for everyone's opinion. And November 5th will tell us, because again, 64% of the people voted to approve marijuana in our township. We'll look at the vote on November 5th to see exactly if they want businesses or not. I encourage everybody to get out and vote. And as far as people, I think it is best to err in favor of democracy. So we are taking this to the people to vote. It doesn't get any better than that, to be able to go and express your opinion and vote. So get out and vote.
Ms. Bellinger?
And just a short comment, yeah. Last year, a year ago, about 64% of the people did vote for decriminalization of marijuana in Michigan.
Okay. I just want to say that this has been a divisive issue for the board too, and we all used to, I mean, I don't know about all of us, but we used to be able to talk to each other, and this has been a really difficult thing. And I'm pretty sad about it. I don't know what to do about it, but I just hope we can come back together after this is over and work together. So we have a lot on our plates. We could have done a lot for the township, I think, but we have been spinning our wheels on this for so long. It's too bad. Anyway, everybody have a good evening. Thanks for coming out. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Motion by Chalkley, support by Bellinger. All in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you. 5-0. doing?